everyone. I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One on One. My guest on the podcast this week is Kayla Thompson, a Bladen County native who won a regional golf championship playing at West Bladen High School and then went on to play 4 years for the UNCW women's golf team before turning professional. Now, thanks to her performance at last year's Q School, Kayla has the opportunity now to qualify for the LPGA Tour. This is the first time she's made it this far in her career. She has a new coach and a confident attitude, and Kayla is working harder than ever to reach her dreams. Kayla, welcome to the One on One with John Evans podcast.
Thanks for having me, John.
I'm so excited you're here because this conversation matches two of my most prized things: good people, which you are, and the game of golf. And I've known you for a long time, and I've always wanted to ask you, what makes you so good at a game that is so blessed difficult for 85% of the world?
I think I'm just too stubborn to let it go.
Really?
And it's one of those games that will drive you absolutely crazy if you let it. But the older I get, the simpler it gets to me. And not easier, but it's like all you have to do is figure out how to get it out there in the fairway or somewhere out there, and then somewhere up there on the green. I mean, on good days and bads, you're going to hit some close to the pin and some not so close.
Right.
A couple putts will fall, and it's a round of golf.
See, it's simple when you talk about it.
It sounds, and trust me, that sounds a whole lot easier said than done.
I know it is. I stand on the tee at the Muni, and most of the time, I have an idea where it's going, but it's not to where I think I imagine, have the confidence to know most of the time where your ball's going to go, right?
Well, don't feel bad. There's some days I stand up there and don't know which side of a barn I'm going to hit. But at this level, I'm trying to have the predictability of it's going to move right to left or left to right.
Okay.
And then you can kind of take one side of the golf course out of play. And that's something that one of my coaches has really been able to help me sort of harness in my game.
Well, before we go any further, let me just, on behalf of everyone else in southeastern North Carolina, thank Bladen Thompson, because without him, I don't think we would have been able to enjoy your golf game. He is actually the one that didn't get you into golf, but because of him, you started playing, right?
That's exactly right. So I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger, and, big sister wanted to beat little brother at everything, and he wanted to play one day. My dad plays, and he took him out, and I said, well, if my brother's going out there, I've got to go out there and learn this game because I want to beat him at everything. And
right.
so yeah, we've got to give my brother credit there.
What was it like when you started? You had played other sports, so you weren't like novice to athletic activity. Did you find other sports helped you, hindered you? But being an athlete, I would imagine flexibility, timing probably helped along the way.
So playing other sports definitely helped, but the one thing that my dad, my uncle who played with me would say helped the most was my dance background. Having tempo, rhythm, and balance. It allowed me to sort of just naturally have a rhythmic swing instead of trying to, most people go out there and they try and kill it.
Right.
And so I think dance actually was the one thing that helped me the most. And to this day, my coach, he kind of makes fun of, we'll make this like a little dance step, 1, 2.
That's interesting because most of us try to if you try to hit it too hard in my game, if I try to really nail a wedge or whatever it is too hard, I pull it left. So I know that if I swing too hard or not let a rhythmic swing come through, something is going to malfunction. You learned that early on?
Early on, yes. It was just all about, my dad's younger brother, he plays a lot and a really good player. He was always like balance and tempo, balance and tempo. On bad days, that's what you're trying to find. Typically, it's one of those two things. Typically, your tempo is what gets off and your rhythm from day to day. And that's what causes the little nuances and the ball going a little one way or the other.
And it is a game of inches. It is a game, so. I mean, an inch and a swing one way or the other. West Bladen didn't have a girls' golf team. Small school, most folks, if you don't know about it, it is a small school system, a small school. So you had to compete against the guys.
I did.
Did that help you, do you think, along the way?
Absolutely.
How?
Well, for one, it allowed me to play 18 holes versus 9 holes in high school matches. And instead of playing the red tees where the girls' teams were playing from, I was able to play from the white and blue tees with the boys, which was comparable to the yardages that you would play in college golf.
Okay.
So coaches, I could go, hey, listen, I shot this at this golf course, and go, hey, this is the yardage that you play at a Division I level. Fortunately, the team that I was on, they were very supportive of having me as a female player. And when I traveled, I didn't get that impression so much.
Really?
So it was really not, I don't think they liked a girl beating up on them too much.
Well, I was going to say, but there is, you would think that they'd want to be welcome to somebody that would help their game, but maybe a high school kid might not realize that at that point in time, right?
Yeah, we've got to go back to these are teenage boys,
Right, yeah, true.
Their ego, I think. But, it's really funny. So Nicky Beecroft, he worked at Loggerhead.
Right.
Loggerhead, one of my sponsors. Nicky we played high school golf together. We saw each other at
Oh, really?
competitions. And Nicky was one of the few that was really nice. There was a handful of guys from Brunswick County that were really nice. But outside of my team, it wasn't until my junior year at River Landing where I sort of felt everything change.
What did you get from that? And what I mean is, did you get to that point where, okay, as a freshman, maybe I shouldn't be out here. As a sophomore, maybe I should be here. As a junior, when you won the conference, I imagine the confidence really started to blossom. Do you remember when that was like, I deserve to be here? When did that come about?
I would definitely say my sophomore and junior year, but specifically junior year, when I had those good rounds and then had no idea at regionals at River Landing what was taking place. It was raining, and I actually shanked 90% of the shots on the range warming up. I was so nervous. I mean,
right.
There's a plethora of guys behind you, and they're all watching you hit. And,
right.
You go out, and I was a couple under through the front nine, and I had a coach come up to me, and he said, oh, yeah, I've got some boys that are a couple under too. And I came to find out later no one else was under par but me. And it was like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. And I get in and they're like, hey, we're going into a playoff. And I go, okay, well, who's going to go represent the team? And they're like, no, you're going into a playoff. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Made par on 18 at River Landing to win the 2A men's conference, regional tournament. But the only thing that I wished I'd had was a lady shirt.
Oh, really?
I had the big men's baggy,
right.
It's down to my elbows, but
sure.
That's the only thing that I would change about any of that.
But I imagine the confidence then, after doing that, but the confidence in getting there, I imagine then took your game to the next level.
It definitely helped. I definitely felt like, okay, if you can beat up on the boys, then you should be able to beat up on the girls, right?
Right.
But the girls at this level, the elite junior level that we were playing, amateur golf, college golf, the level now, they're so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. We're going to get to UNCW part of your career in a moment. You turned pro in 2019. How big a difference was there? Was the difference bigger going from West Bladen to UNCW, or UNCW going to, hey, I've got to cash a check if I'm going to pay my bills?
So everyone said going from junior golf to college golf was going to be, it would rock your world.
Right.
And for me, it did not. I was like, I represented UNCW. I represented West Bladen. Now I'm representing UNCW.
Okay.
But going from college golf to professional golf was so huge. You go from obviously wanting to represent your school and play the absolute best you can, but at the end of the day, everything's okay. In professional golf, if you don't play well, you don't make the cut, and you don't make money, no matter how bad you want this dream will come to an end because it takes money.
Yeah.
And this is a job. You're trying to pay bills through this. But yeah, I would say professional golf is very, very much harder to focus in on one shot at a time than it was for junior golf or college golf. And
is it because of the pressure? Is the pressure part of it? Are you still trying to play Kayla's game? Or are those outside things like you look up at a scoreboard and you're like, crap, I'm 5 behind. And then it's a different mindset. Or am I just making this up here?
No, I think it could be any one of those things any different week. One week I could just be struggling to find my game, and the next week I've got my game and I'm wanting to get too much out of it, and I'm looking at the leaderboard going, you're 5 back, come on, you've got the game, make that push. It's any kind of pressure you put on yourself outside of just focus on this one shot, execute this one shot, and see what they add up to at the end of the round.
Were there any major surprises when you got onto the Pro Tour, as you started to try to get your way up the ladder? 2020, you went to the Women's All-Pro Tour. You made 4 out of 6 cuts. The next year in 21, you made 5 out of 6 cuts. Was there much of a learning curve there?
I remember I made my first check at the Tennessee Women's Open in 2019, I believe it was. And to get to that point, it felt like I'd climbed Mount Everest to make a check. $323.33. And I was like, okay, I've got that behind me. It'll be easy from here. And the very next tournament, it's not.
Yeah.
Because every day, it's a new day. It's a new round of golf. And so learning through those years is no matter what happened yesterday, today's a fresh slate. And same thing for week to week, tournament to tournament.
How do you then keep positive? Your faith is important to you. You've always been a positive person, but are there days? I mean, like I said, 20 and 21, you were good. 22 and 23, not as good as those first 2 years.
Right.
So how do you dig in? How do you make that, I'm still going to try this, without trying to give up?
I think, like we talked about earlier, that hard-headed determination. I just want this so badly. I've actually added a coach, and he's really made a big difference in this last year, helping me figure out how to play within myself, how to manage the course a little better, and just simplify things overall for me. That has me really excited for this year.
Okay.
But you're always looking forward. There's a reason the windshield is significantly larger than the rearview mirror. There's things, I want to learn from, but I'm always looking where I can improve. What can I do better? What can I do different? What are other girls doing that's creating success for them that maybe I could steal and do, and that creates success for me.
Was there a toughest time in these first 4 or 5 years of being a professional golfer?
I would say the hardest week of my life is Q School each week, stage 1.
Yeah.
That week determines your next year, which tournaments you're going to play in, which tour you're going to be on. And, after failing getting through stage 1 for 3 times in a row, that's sort of a rock bottom of, you can't even get through the first step. And then last year, my game was at such a low, I didn't even feel I had the game, it was worth going. And then this past year, I get through. And that was probably the highlight of the journey so far, is knowing I needed to go out and shoot. I thought at least 2 under or more. I was like, you are sitting here seeing golf shots and executing them, and there's no better feeling in the world than that. And I think that's what all the golfers strive for. You see that one shot, you hit it, and you're like, let's do that again.
Yeah, I can hit that gap wedge within a foot on 17. I know I've done it. I can do it again, and then you wait, and then it's another month and a half before you even get close.
But between that time period, you're working your tail off to make it a week apart, a day apart, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, that 66 that you shot in that qualifying tournament.
Yeah.
That had to be, I mean, you've had a lot of great moments, championships and everything, but that had to be, you got to walk off in a different level of confidence and a different level of, hey, look at me.
Well, you mentioned something earlier about the world of professional sports that people don't see. And round 1, I shot 72, round 2, 66 at this qualifying tournament in Australia you're mentioning. But what people don't know is in the parking lot before round 1, I was in tears on the phone with my parents because I didn't feel like I could make a par. The prep I had for the tournament, I just wasn't that confident. But, my dad who plays, he's like, listen, you've got it. You've put in the work. You've just got to go out here one shot at a time. You can't worry about the results. It'll take care of itself. And to sit there and feel like it's going to take all I can do to make a par, I'm going to make several bogeys. I make 2 bogeys for the tournament, and shoot 66 the next day. And that is just the roller coaster of golf and what people don't see, you know, the ups and downs before rounds, after rounds. But what a 66 like that does, I'm still living on the high of that 66.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You have to hold on, because golf is a game that will beat you up. So when you have those moments and you have those good rounds, you really have to hold on and harness them and sort of relive those positive memories or energy.
See, you're a human being, so I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but I've always been a fan of yours because Coach Cindy Ho and those who are around the tournament have always talked to me when I mentioned and talked to you about your mental strength, and to know that you have those tear times like everybody else does, really, I guess it makes you more human to me, because you've always been that person to me that, you know, you can go out there and knock it in the middle and then hit the wedge to within 5 feet and make the putt. But you've always been that person I've always thought so much of being mentally stronger than most other people because of what others who are around you have always said.
Well, I appreciate that. But the strength, I think, ultimately comes from my faith. If you want to know the truth, and knowing that, you know, where I'm at, I believe my 2 feet are where the Lord wants me, and that'll take me. If I'm supposed to be playing golf today and I'm supposed to be doing something else tomorrow, I'm okay with that. And that gives me peace, and that keeps me grounded. But that doesn't change the fact that a bad day on the golf course doesn't hurt any less.
Right.
But mentally, you know, all I can do is control the controllables. I cannot control the weather. I cannot control, you know, the game that I'm going to show up with. I can only control how I'm going to manage myself, my emotions, and the game that I brought today. And so I try and be like Jack Nicklaus. You know, I think he missed a putt, and someone asked him about it. He goes, "No, I didn't miss that putt. I made that." And there's footage of him missing this putt. And he's like, "No, I made that." He rewrote the script in his head that he made that putt. And a lot of times I try and do the same, because, you know, your brain sometimes can't differentiate between what's real and what's not. And if you can create positive memories and positive, you know, thoughts, then your body can sort of lock on to, I can do this, I've got this.
Wrap your body around your mental thought.
Yes.
And put it to good use. You qualified for I guess it's Australasia, is that how it's pronounced?
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
And you put a video on social media of you and a kangaroo in the sand trap. What has that been like? Because you went down there and you've done well, and you've made cuts, and I imagine that's just been a whirlwind experience, pardon the pun.
That was a life-changing trip. So 2 months in Australia, I went with one of my best friends who also plays, and we had a great time. But this week, it was the very first week I saw a kangaroo on the golf course, and I was so excited. I'm 100 yards away from this kangaroo, and I'm taking a selfie, and I'm playing with an Aussie girl, and she goes, no, you can get much closer, watch this. And she goes up to almost pet it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And she goes, well, my home course, we can pet them. And I was like, I don't think I'm a pet. So I just stand away, and they're messing around in the bunker, and I take a selfie. But that trip was life-changing, not just for me as a person, but for me as a golfer.
How?
I am so excited for this new season to start. Just sort of the momentum that I've picked up with the qualifying tournament that you were talking about.
Right.
The last 2 tournaments, I had some good rounds. I'm really looking forward to this year to start on the Epson Tour. Getting through stage 1, like I mentioned earlier, it grants me that the start on this next level.
Right.
And so I'm hoping to just take what I learned in Australia and about my game and myself and apply it to these upcoming tournaments. In
this tour, though, men and women are both on the course at the same time.
Yes.
Right? So is it a learning experience? Is it a competing experience? What's it like? I mean, in a pro tournament now against men on the tee.
So first off, it's very fun. But the very first tournament was at Rosebud, and I get paired with 2 guys. So it's either 2 guys and a girl or 2 girls and a guy, the way they pair you, because we're playing together for the same purse.
Right, yeah.
I was so nervous. And I'm thinking, oh, you've played with guys before, no big deal, but this is a different level. You know, they've got the tees stacked accordingly to where it's fair we're coming in with the same wedge, but they hit it different than the boys in high school hit it. You know, they're hitting wedges behind the flag and sucking them back, to the bunker. And I'm like, your game plan's good. Your game plan's great. Just stick with it. You've got it.
Yeah.
And so it was very nerve-wracking, the first couple holes. But it was so fun. The guys are great. But to that point, I'm pretty sure we had a Champions Tour Aussie who was playing one week while we were out there. And I'm like, all right. So we've got all the guys and girls.
You mentioned this a little bit ago, but for people who are not golfers, and again, I'm a maniac about it, but there are a lot of people who just watch Sunday at the Masters, Sunday at the TPC, or the Dinah Shore, whatever it is. They don't know the grind of even, I mean, the pros, they fly. Most of the time they're flying to tournaments. The minor tour, I guess if that's the terminology, players are driving 12, 15 hours. You're playing Monday, Tuesday to try to compete. And if you don't cash, that's money out of your pocket that you've got to pay. So the grind, explain that. And just if you have examples of how difficult that is, because I don't think people realize how difficult the grind it is.
Yeah, so a lot of people, Full Swing on Netflix, behind the scenes of the PGA Tour. Yeah, we're not on private jets and in, luxurious, 4 or 5 bedroom homes. We're driving in our cars. Everything is packed in for a couple weeks. And like you said, I think my first drive this year is 12 hours out to Louisiana, and I'll have a 17-hour drive coming home from Texas. We are very fortunate that there are host families that put us up, and that's more than just to help with an expense. They create an atmosphere that you can't get when you're in a hotel. Someone to talk to, a home-cooked meal. But yes, it's not as glamorous as most people think. Monday through Wednesday, you are trying to figure every little nuance of the golf course out. You're taking notes, you're playing practice rounds, you're trying to fine-tune your game for the week, and hopefully Thursday and Friday you play well enough to see the weekend. Otherwise, it seems like all that work was for nothing. There's no paycheck coming, there's a lot of expenses, and then you're trying to regroup, reset, and do it all over again the next week.
I'm a dad. I have 2 daughters. I don't know how well I would be if my daughter was driving 12 to 17 hours and trying to do what so many have done and not been able to do. I would be worried, absolutely sick. Have you had that conversation with Dad? Has Dad had that conversation with you? And what's that like for you as a daughter and for Dad, whose daughter's going all over the place?
So I'm very independent, and I'm very aware of my surroundings. And my dad sort of brought me up to be aware of my surroundings and pay attention, and, not just little things, not walking into a store on your phone,
Right.
But I've had 2 scares on the road. One in Florida, I was at a Panera, and a lady walked in, asked if she could have lunch with me, and I was like, no, I'm actually here with some friends, and she waited. It was an hour, and she waited, and it could be total coincidence, but there goes a white van, as soon as she walks out the door, because you're in another state with North Carolina tags. And then last year I was outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and this Ford truck kept coming up beside me and slowing down, and coming up beside me and slowing down. Little things like that unnerve you. But I know, and if anybody wants to target me, we're driving straight to a police station if I feel like I'm being followed. There are little things like that I try to know or be aware of what to do. Don't just pull over. But those are conversations we've had. I have ways of protecting myself, but it doesn't change the fact that you're in a vehicle several hours away from home by yourself. But you just try and be aware.
What does Bladen County mean to you? Obviously, it's where you grew up, but you're in major cities all across the world now. Sydney and Melbourne, Atlanta, you traveled all these major cities to play. When you think Bladen County, what pops in your mind?
If you'd asked that question a couple of years ago, you would have gotten a different answer. But ironically, the more I travel, the more it feels like home. Everyone when you're young it's all get out, go see the world. There's more out there than this. And I'm like, okay, there is. I can go 5 minutes from where we're at, and I've got how many things at my fingertips. But what Bladen County means, there's family and friends there that when you travel, that's who you want to be with.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend, she's 30 minutes up the road, and another really good friend of mine 20 minutes up the road, and they've both got kids. And I enjoy getting to be like the fun aunt, and seeing them grow up. And you don't get that on the road. And no matter how much I love Fort Worth, Texas, there's no beach, and my family and friends aren't there.
Right.
So Bladen County, when I make that drive home and I start coming down 211 and 701, it's a really warm, settling feeling.
How often does mom and dad come out, maybe watch you? I know they had to watch you in high school. I know they were lucky enough that you played here at UNCW. They could watch you. Do they come and still watch you play?
It's a lot harder playing professionally,
right.
Across
Sure.
the states. But Dad has been my caddy at Stage 1Q school, my U.S. Open qualifiers, up until this past year at Stage 1. My coach went out and caddied. But he's going to be on the bag for my U.S. Open qualifier up in Greensboro. But they both work full-time jobs, so they're pretty busy. But Mom was able to come out, and Dad as well, he caddied for the South Carolina Women's Open last year. And that was so fun to have both of them there. It'd been a college tournament since my mom was able to attend, and I absolutely loved that week. I played well that week and took a lot of momentum from that tournament to Q School.
Mm-hmm.
So not as often as I would like,
right.
but understandable.
Is it still a game?
Very much so.
Really?
Yes.
Even though it's work?
The work happens outside of the 18 holes of golf.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, Monday through Wednesday, when you're taking all those notes, getting all the practice in, that's work. But when you tee it up on Thursday, it's just golf. There's no more preparation that you can put in. And so it's a game again.
To hear you say it's a game, it's a different game on your level than it is mine. Coach Cindy Ho, when did you first meet her, and what has she meant to not just your game, but your life?
I can't describe what Coach means to me. She's still a huge influence in my life, and whenever we get on the phone, it's not a 30-minute conversation. It's about a 3-hour conversation.
Right.
But it was my freshman year of high school. I was at the Vicky DeSantis tournament up at Pine Island in Charlotte. Coach walked around, and, you can't talk to parents really and players for certain, but enough to go, who is this? Is this your daughter? Okay, what's her name? Dad goes, Kayla, and very first story she told me, she goes, I watched you hit the golf ball, and it was so good. And then I got in and saw your score, and I was like, wait, that can't be the same girl. I'd 3-putted like 8 times that round, mid-80s, you know. But Coach said she knew then that she wanted me. She liked the athleticism, and little did I know that, it was funny, I told her later, I said, living so close, an hour away, you see UNCW from the road, not super attractive with all the pine trees, right, when you're a little kid, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never going to school there. But, John, those were the 4 best years of my life. And
That's
largely
so cool.
in part to Coach and who she was on and off the golf course. I lost my grandmother my freshman year, and the support that she had for me, during that really tough time.
Mm-hmm.
The way she was there for my family,
Mm-hmm.
not just me.
Right.
It's you can't find that in coaches all over. I have
Mm-hmm.
friends who had horrible experiences in college, and
Really?
and fortunately, 4 wonderful years with a wonderful coach. What Coach has been able to accomplish at UNCW is incredible.
What about those life lessons, though, with her? Is she as much a life coach as she is a golf coach?
Coach puts school first and golf second, and that's how it should be, but she puts you as a person above all that. She cares about you on a relationship level, and obviously wants the schoolwork and the golf game to be good as well, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't even begin to tell you all the lessons that she's taught me and everything I've learned from those years.
When was the first whoa moment going from West Bladen to teeing it up and playing college golf? Was there that, holy crap, moment or I belong moment?
Well, the landfall tradition's pretty special.
Yeah.
Freshman year, I had a really good tournament out in Austin at Texas, University of Texas, Longhorns tournament. And coach says, you've earned the opportunity to play in the number 1 seed this week at landfall. Do you want that? Absolutely, coach. I want that, and I want to play with Alabama, and I want to play with Emma Talley, the number 1 ranked player.
Yeah.
I want to see what these girls have that I don't, and learn. And I think that week was sort of the first week of like, okay, this is the next level. I mean, it's a championship caliber field.
Yeah.
And you're playing with the greatest girls in the world, and it's like, okay, this is what it's all about.
Like it?
Loved it. I remember watching Emma. She, I think she bogeyed the first and third hole, and it was like she clearly just put it in another gear for the back nine. Couple under, finished it even or couple under for the day, and I just remember going, wow, that's something I don't have. It was just like she went from third gear to fifth gear.
Yeah.
And turned the birdies on, and I was like, okay, you need to learn how to do that.
I used to, when I was younger in this business, I used to be able to go to, whether I go to Charlotte or whatever, and I turn the news on. And I just sit there and say, that's kind of cool. They did that. Maybe we ought to try that. And as I got older, I'm like, I'm better than he is. You know what I mean? I like the way I do things.
Yes.
But now the older I get, I don't watch as much of other people's news anymore. And I don't know what that is. But what about you? Can you watch final day of the Masters? Can you watch final day of a women's championship and just watch it as a fan? Or are you always dissecting how everybody does anything?
So the Masters, I can sit down and watch every second of.
Okay.
The majors, obviously,
Right.
men and women's, I love to watch. Ryder Cup, Sohan Cup. Outside of that, I prefer to watch other sports. I love tennis. So typically, if I'm watching tennis.
Okay.
It's hard. The back nine on Sunday, it's easy to watch, but
Right.
it's almost like you're around it so much you want to get away.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm finding as I'm getting older.
Have you given yourself a time frame? Have you said by blankety blank, I want to have earned a card on the LPGA? By blankety blank, I want to qualify for whatever? Do you give yourself time, or I'm just going and seeing where the good Lord puts me?
I used to, and it was because I started so late in golf. I always felt like I was behind. I felt like I was behind in college. But once I graduated and turned professional, I was like, this is a unique journey for everybody. Someone could have come straight out of high school and turned professional. Someone could be 30 years old and a professional, and I'm playing with both of them. And that sort of hurry, you need to get this done feeling went away. I obviously would have liked to say, okay, by now I'd have my LPGA Tour card, but I don't sit here and say, if I don't have it by tomorrow, I'm not playing anymore.
Okay.
As long as I'm seeing progress in my game, I feel like I can accomplish those goals, and I'm happy to work, and I want to get up every day and put the work in to reach those goals, and financially can, then I want to keep playing.
What do you do now? What's a day like today? Do you have another job that you work at? Do you go and you hit a certain amount of balls a day? What is happening now between the time that you got back from Australia and then when you go and try to get on that next tour?
So basically took the tournaments in Australia, made an assessment, said, okay, I want to work on these things and improve in these areas. It's gym, 4 to 5 days a week. And then you head to the golf course, and I like to go, I need to work on this, and this, and then set drills out and go, okay, I'm going to do this drill for putting and this drill, and that's going to help my tempo and rhythm and lag putting, and I'm going to build some confidence by making my 3-footers around the clock.
Right.
And I like to check those boxes off.
Okay. Get
that sense of accomplishment. But it's playing a lot with the guys, putting some money on the line, trying to create some pressure, and sort of simulate what you might see in a couple weeks when I'm in Louisiana. So that's what it looks like between now and April.
Do you have another job you're working at to try to maybe earn some of the money that you need to enter the tournament? Because again, like you said,
yes.
It costs money.
Yes.
You got to put gas in the car. You got to, everything else.
That's right. So I have a part-time job. There's tournaments that work to raise money. So if there's a tournament in Wilmington I've worked every year. And so I go out there and I hit golf shots and I get paid to to go out there and have fun with some people and raise money with them.
Are you superstitious on the golf course?
Maybe a little bit.
When it comes
Did you see the Loggerhead podcast?
I did. I watched it. For those who haven't, what are your superstitions? I know you have them apparently with what you mark a golf ball with, what golf carts you will get in, but I've got mine too, but I want to hear yours first.
So there's always 3 tees in the pocket. I always start with 3 tees, and I won't replace those 3 tees until they're all gone. And then I have this ball marker. It's from Shady Oaks. I always use it. It's flat and like a copper color. And then Caleb, he brought it up about golf cart numbers.
Right.
Something I'd never, ever thought of. And at stage 1, my coach hopped in. It was like a 44, and I said, no, that's a 32 we're getting in that cart. I made him take the cooler off, the bag off, and we switched carts. It worked. We made it through stage 1, but that was a superstition that's...
Because you didn't want a 44 on the card, you want a 32 on the card.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good vibes.
That's so funny.
What are some of your superstitions?
I've got, when I go and I've played, I've been lucky enough to play at several golf courses at Pinehurst. Sheila and I have taken 2 trips out to Hawaii, and I've played courses out there, Kapalua and stuff like that. And I have ball markers, okay? And if the last round I played was under 80, I'll use that ball marker again.
Okay.
Okay. But once I come back with an 82 or an 83, that goes back in the pouch, and I just pull one out blindly, and I'll play with that one. And so that's the way I use my golf markers. And one of my Kapalua ones I haven't used in like a half a year, because the last time I played it, I shot like 88.
Oh.
It was a horrible day. Absolutely horrible day. I couldn't do anything. But that one has been in there, and I pulled it out. No, I do that one. But that's my only real superstition.
Okay.
I don't count the tees. I don't count the change. The only one is my ball marker.
Okay. It's pretty good.
Do you have any cards saved? Any golf cards, score cards?
Yes. So the 66 from the qualifying tournament. I'm not a real big person on some of those things.
Really?
But I do have the 66. I want to create like a shadow box from the trip.
Okay.
So
you only have the one?
I have the river landing card when I won regionals. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
How many golf balls do you have saved?
I have 2 hole-in-one balls.
See, you've got one. You've got 2. I don't have any.
Well, let me tell you. So I got my little dog, Bentley. He's a Yorkie. And it was just like a month later, I made a hole-in-one. And I said, I just needed Bentley to make my hole-in-one. And then 3 weeks later, I made the other one. So I felt like the floodgates have opened, and it's been, how many years since? So,
when did you make your first hole-in-one?
I want to say 17. I think it was like 2017. I was playing at Land O'Lakes with my dad and good friend of ours. Good golfer.
I love that little golf course.
It's fun.
It
will expose some weaknesses rather quickly.
Yeah.
But yes, made my first one there on number 2. Thought I hit it over the green.
Right. Yeah.
We need to play sometime out
love
there.
That. Yeah,
That's where I grew up.
Yeah, I love that little golf course, that little par 3 they have. If you hit it over, you don't want to hit it over because there's trouble behind it, big time. I actually hit the green last time I played it. So
good.
You have 2 holes in one. I actually saw a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago make a hole in one.
Okay.
And I think he was the one that everybody gave a lot of crap to because he hadn't had one yet. And now I think that's going to fall on me because most of all the friends that I played with over at the Muni have one. I saw his, and so I think it's now on me.
Well, maybe seeing his, it'll rub off on you.
I have one golf card saved, and Sheila made a shadow box. I saved the ball and the golf card. A couple of years ago, I think it was 21, over at the Muni, the municipal golf course. I shot even par, 18 pars. 18, I mean, like no birdies, no bogeys.
Wow.
Like, it's not a perfect because you want to make birdie or eagle on all of them, but 18 pars I made that day.
That's awesome.
And that was my lowest, even pars, the lowest round I've ever shot. But I made it that day, and I got some bounces that day that were just unbelievable. I mean,
That's
like
great.
Trying to get up and down over a trap, and I didn't hit it the way I wanted to, but it hit the trap and rolled down, and I had like 2 feet. But that's the only golf cart and golf ball that I have saved.
Well, that's a good one.
And Sheila made a shadow box for me for Christmas that year.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's right in the, if you walk into the Evans house, that's right. As soon as you walk in, you're
front
going to see. Yeah, really.
Absolutely.
Hey, can you see this?
Yes, check this out.
Who's your ultimate foursome? Who would your ultimate foursome playing golf be?
Definitely put my dad in there. As I get older, I'd say Maggie will.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie's from Whiteville.
Right.
Maggie's been a great influence on my golf career. A really incredible friend to have, someone to talk to and ask questions and pick her brain. She played high school golf with my dad, also played on a boys team.
Really? I
Yep.
did not know that. How
So,
cool is that?
A very small world there. And probably Jarena Pillar. Jarena plays on the LPGA.
Mm-hmm.
I met her in college. She was part of College Golf Fellowship, and there were probably 30 or 40 of us girls who went out to her house and spent a couple days. And someone who has faith as the center of their life, and golf also there. Represented the United States in the Olympics, Solheim Cup, great player, but a better person. I think, at the end of the day, that's who you want to be surrounded by. So I'd probably say that's my foursome.
How cool would that be to see that foursome coming down the first fairway there at Land O'Lakes? Because I know that's a special place for you too, Land O'Lakes.
It is. It's home.
Yeah.
It's home. That's where all the memories are.
What's next? What are you looking to try to do? What's in your plans?
So I'm probably going to start the season on the Annika Women's All-Pro Tour down in Louisiana, and then transition over to the Epson Tour probably end of April, 1st of May.
Okay.
And play the Epson Tour for the remainder of the year.
You said you got a new coach. How does a coach help you now in this stage of your game? Who is it? Number one, who is he and or she? And what does that coach do for you now at your age, what you're trying to accomplish, and still digging to try to make that LPGA Tour?
So it's a team.
Okay.
So Brad Kirkman down in Myrtle Beach, longtime coach through college. Actually, I was introduced to him through our assistant coach my freshman year. Helped me build an incredible golf swing. Marius Philmotter, famous putting instructor to Tiger Woods and many others, helps me with my putting. And Matt Ball is the new guy. He is a former college coach at Virginia Commonwealth, and what he's been able to do is help me learn how to play golf instead of golf swing. A lot of course management strategies that he's taught me in the last year, learning how to pick apart a golf course in a short amount of time. That has been huge, learning those little nuances. But yeah, just simplifying everything, having someone who, when you're in Australia and you need to make a phone call and go, hey, I don't know what's going on, here's a video, they can give you the answer. They can calm you down and go, no, it looks great, you've got it, just focus on X, Y, Z. Because at the end of the day, you have tendencies just like I have tendencies.
Right.
And it's all about knowing your tendencies and having a couple different thoughts or feelings to sort of counteract them. And that's what it is at this level.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. If I'm in trouble, I know my left shoulder's getting high, I'm sliding. It's one of those two things. Well, what drills, what feelings, what thoughts do I have that I can go to the range at the end of the round and work on it a little bit to be better tomorrow?
The fun thing is, from my perspective, is knowing you, knowing how, and I said this at the very top of the interview, that you're such good people because you come from such good family in Bladen County, because of everything that you did at UNCW, and not just the golf, but in the community. I remember when we had storms, you and the team went out to help the community and did so much of that stuff. But you've been right out front. Faith is important to you, so it's fun from a fan perspective, maybe fan plus a little bit, because I know how much you want to succeed and how many people are pulling for you to succeed. It's fun to watch, and it's fun to be among that group, watching you try to succeed and watching you try to get to that next level.
Well, thank you, John. I think if there's something I try and live by, people won't remember what you did for them, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And I just hope that I can have a positive influence on someone's life, and they see my faith through me.
Yeah.
That's all I can hope for.
Well, like I said, I know you're a success on and off the golf course. It's fun to watch you play, and there's a lot of folks, including me, who are hoping that you take that to the next level this year. Kayla, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
I appreciate you coming in and opening the door a little bit, letting us find out a little bit more about the ups and downs of trying to make it in the golf world.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. This has been very fun.
Good. A big thank you to Kayla Thompson for taking time out of her prep schedule and joining us for this week's podcast interview. Kayla goes on the Annika Women's Pro Tour starting in April. After playing 4 events on that tour, she plans to move over to the Epson Tour to finish out her season with the dream of qualifying for the LPGA. I've put links on how you can follow her play on both of the tours inside this story on WECT.com. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please follow or subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on whatever app you use to listen to your favorite shows. And if you would be so kind, please leave us a rating or a review. We do care what you think of our interviews, and the more feedback we have from friends like you, the higher we'll be listed on the apps, the better chance we'll have of bringing in even more new listeners. I'm John Evans. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of One-on-One.